In this video, we're talking about good and bad states when it comes to solar lead generation. Coming up. And welcome back to another solar video on the channel. On this one, we're obviously talking about where should you put your money in if you're thinking about online lead generation, right? So, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet and you've just been watching my videos, which I still appreciate, I would appreciate if you smash that button down below and give me a sub, all right? If you like the content of the video, please make sure you give it a like too, because that boosts the YouTube algorithm and actually more and more people can get it discovered, all right? So let's get right into it. What are good and bad states when it comes to solar lead generation, and is that actually a thing? What does it mean, okay? So good and bad states, that simply means, all right, where can I get a better ROI, right? So for example, I'll give you an example. So usually when I start working with a client, we do lead generation, right? And when I start working with a client, the majority of my clients are sales organizations or one-man show people, to where they ask me, hey man, what market should I do, right? And honestly, I love that question, because at that point, I know I can really help that person. Because some people, they come to me with already like secured spots that they want to be in, right? They give me a place in Florida, the Panhandle, or this, that, and the other, right? And I'm like, oh, here we go again, all right? And it's not bad, but I'm like, if you can, we live in 2021, right? If you can afford to have multiple locations open where you can sell, right? Not just in one spot. If you can at least target a whole state, that's gonna put you so much ahead of the curve of everyone else who is advertising across the same audience of where you are currently, right? The only reason I see where people should be, pumping their money in a single location is if they actually live there, right? If they live there, and most importantly, if you're doing door knocking, right? Door to door. If you're not doing that, if you're not doing door knocking, I highly recommend you don't limit yourself to one location. And if you're not actually limited by one location, your ROI could be absolutely off the charts. And you can actually go and watch one of my latest testimonials of Jordan Lally, who made 50 grand with literally just over $600 in ad spend in a space of a month. And the guy had no experience when it comes to solar, right? So you can go and check it out. But now, when it comes to selling solar, if you're a solar sales organization, right? And you're not an EPC, you're not an installer, you shouldn't limit yourself to one location. If anything sticks with you from this one video, it should be that. If you are selling solar and you're not actually installing it, right? You're not the service provider, then you shouldn't limit yourself to one location. So that's actually the second reason. If you're an EPC, right, and not a dealer, by all means, you're limited to where your crew can actually go out and install, right? But if this doesn't apply to you and you can sell anywhere, why? Because you have a national installer, right? Like the ones we recommend in our training. If you have a connection with an installer that can service the whole state, and if you don't have a connection right now, I highly recommend you get partnered up with someone that can actually install at least statewide, right? Because that's where you get a lot less people advertising across that same audience. And so YouTube and Facebook is gonna give you actually a lower cost per lead, which will then make your return on ad spend, return on your money, a lot bigger, a lot higher, right? So again, if this doesn't apply to you, you should always think about targeting at least the whole state, right? So again, there's no good or bad states. There's no good and bad states. Some states obviously have, you know, a little bit of a more sort of background of people knowing about solar and being interested about solar, like California, Nevada, Arizona, Florida, whatnot, right? The sunshine states, but all the other states are coming up too. So, I mean, you'd be surprised. Like, we have campaigns going up in Ohio. We have campaigns going up in Missouri, right? And they're doing tremendously well, right? And those states are not considered like solar states, the sunshine states, right? But they're doing tremendously well right now. Idaho too, right? So I would tell you this, if you're thinking about selling solar, right? And I just want to leave you with that. If you're thinking about selling solar, you should always consider going statewide at least, right? At least. Honestly, I love when people come to me and say, usually on the onboarding call when I talk to them, and they ask, hey man, what markets do you think I should do? That's my favorite question out of all, because I know at that point I can recommend a great state to that individual, because I know where, you know, the campaigns for my clients are popping the most, right? But when somebody comes in and obviously they're very limited. They're like, oh, okay, well, I just want to have a few appointments here, you know, in like 20-mile radius. And I'm like, oh, here we go again, right? So the cost per lead, it's expected to be higher. Not always, but it's usually higher than if you go statewide. So the moral of the story is very, very simple. If you can go with a larger area, you should always do that, because your CPL, or your cost per lead, is going to be way cheaper. And if your cost per lead is cheaper, your cost per appointment is going to be cheaper. And if your cost per appointment is cheap, you're going to get a very cheap cost per acquisition of a sale. And that's what you're looking to do. You're looking to get the most out of your money spent on social media, on advertising, right? So now I'm gonna give you some good states, because that's the title of the video and I didn't want to clickbait you, so I'm gonna give you some good states actually. So California's pretty good, okay? Cali's pretty good. Arizona's good. Florida's good. Idaho is very good. What else? We have Minnesota, pretty good. We have Massachusetts, pretty good. We have, what else? Anyway, that's the ones I can think of on top of my head. But Nevada is good, and as long as you don't target Vegas specifically. And a lot of people are like, whoa, I want my 2-week install. I want my 1-week install, 2-week installs, right? I get a lot of people saying that you can get very, very fast permitting if you're in Vegas. And that, even if that's true, I mean, you're gonna get paid either way. Like, for example, in our program, we actually connect you with an installer, right? So we give you a pretty reasonable red line, and you're bound to always get paid, right? And so, you know, again, if you can target the actual state, always go ahead and do that. Even if it's not one of those states that I've just listed, you're much better off if you target a bigger audience. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a massive thumbs up. Again, if it will boost up in the YouTube algorithm, so more and more people will get to see it. I'm going to be posting more videos on the channel, and if the conversation ever comes up in the community, give me a shout out. I would very much appreciate it. And if you've been looking to grow your solar sales business, or you're just starting out in solar, please go ahead and do yourself a favor and schedule a call by clicking the link down below. And I'll personally talk to you on that call, so we can strategize we're gonna grow your business literally step by step. So, and this call is entirely free. So do yourself a favor and schedule a call. And until next time, sell more KWs, and see you in the next one.